Hello, this is Peter Colla from Spiritual Therapies with Peter and Anna Colla. You may have seen me on Charlie Ward, or you may have seen me on Nino Rodriguez, Nicholas Veniamin. I've been on a few other shows. I've been on with Pryme Minister and even with David Corson in a business show. I've been in a few different places at a few different times. I primarily speak about spiritual therapies. I am a medical practitioner. And I have been practicing for 35 years. I have not only treated thousands of patients, I have trained hundreds of other practitioners, attempting to try to push God back into the treatment scenario, into the therapeutic scenario for the treatment of illnesses, afflictions, etc. I have written a couple of books. One of them is called Heal Yourself for God's Sake. And this is a tabulation of what happened when I tried to put God back into the therapeutic processes. He showed me a number of almost miraculous, if not almost all miraculous, events that took place. I wrote them down. And then after a few years, actually over 10 years, I was able to tabulate it into a book. So this is a sort of therapeutic self-help on how others have used spiritual therapies, God-given truths, to help them in their own journey to health. And then a second book I wrote recently, while we were under the comorbid scamdemic, that was the second book called Quantum Ascension. And in this book, I basically am asking God how it works. I do that a lot. Sometimes even when I have people come to see me and they come in with all kinds of issues, I'll ask God very softly, what do I do with this? And then he'll tell me what to do, or where to treat and how to do it. And so that I just listen and I do what he tells me. And oftentimes it's with signs and wonders or different little things that pop in. And in this case, I was asking him, how does it work? How does it work on a quantum level so that I can help people? If you understand how it works, healing, etc., then it makes it easier to apply it to your own life. So that's what I did. I wrote it in this book. Both of them are available on Amazon. We don't monetize these channels. As a matter of fact, I do have a lot of people calling me, asking more advice. I am a medical practitioner, so when they want to schedule a one-on-one visit, which you can do, I will schedule that, and I do charge for that. I do it during my normal work week, and so if I have to take off from seeing people out here, and have to set aside 2-3 hours to do that, I have to charge. But in many cases, I do talk to people and don't charge them, and so we can help fund that scenario. Also trying to open our own office up again. We fund it with these sales of these books. If you want a signed copy, you can email me at posture.is.everything@gmail.com. If you wish me to speak to a small group or even a clergy or that sort of scenario, I've done many of those. I have spoken in even other countries. I've spoken even in India, Women's Economic Forum, and I did some things like that. And so I can do guest speaking, but you have to contact me at posture.is.everything@gmail.com. Now, enough of that, enough of the intro. Today's video, I'm starting a new series, and this is going to be a series that I will begin. It is taking you step by step through the healing process as it's presented in my book, Heal Yourself for God's Sake, my first book. So what I'm going to do in this scenario is I'm going to take you through an educational kind of a little bit deeper than what I started with David, Nino, or even with Charlie Ward, and talk about more specifics about what I address in the book, and then how to apply them yourself to your own healing process. You don't need someone like me if you understand how to do it. It's all there in the Word of God, actually. And what I have discovered is, as I found these truths and started putting them into my own office, and then I was reading the Bible at the same time, there is a correlation between how it is done in the physical and what was presented to us in the written word. And seeing that and recognizing that as a therapeutic provider, I could say, hey, that reminds me of what we did over here. You know, maybe if other people do that, they could get the same result. And it's true. So, but you have to have that explained to you. You know, it's not as simple as just reading it. Sometimes you have to understand what you're reading, you know, and also have it taught in a proper way. You know, and not sometimes people see this as all spiritual and beyond their ability to grasp or even take in for themselves. It's just, oh, that's something that happened 2,000 years ago, so it doesn't apply to me. No, it applies very much so. So that's what I'm going to help people understand in the course of this next few videos. But for today, the first video, and I'm calling it Promise Keepers. So obviously, you know, people who are a Christian scenario have studied a little bit of that may have heard of the Promise Keepers. You know, Promise Keepers is a kind of a faith-based, Christian-based organization that where, you know, primarily men, but also women come to, and they want to learn what, you know, to how to become more apply God's truths to their life and become more godly in their walk with God. And they call it Promise Keepers. And, you know, people come there and they learn about God, they learn truths and all these different things. And and hopefully they learn how to become Promise Keepers. And we're going to talk about that a little bit because that's really important for our first lesson. Okay, that's why we're calling it Promise Keepers, this lesson. I will begin this series, like I said, with Heal Yourself for God's Sake. I will take the viewers through a systematic course. First couple videos designed to examine the practical applications of observations witnessed in my first book, which is actually my second book. My first book is called The First True Therapist. I haven't really, that was self-published and it probably still needs to be finally edited, but that is a book where I asked God very much in the beginning, even before I wrote the first book, the Heal Yourself book, I asked God, why, how, and he told me, and I wrote that down. It was more of a conversations with God kind of thing. Very interesting read, but like I said, I haven't really promoted it. It just sits there. It's also available on Amazon for anybody interested. One of these days, I'll break that one out and we'll examine that a little closer. But right now, I got these. All right, back to our little thing here. Then I'll break down it. I will break down these various chapters in various videos into differential diagnosis. That means different things. And the practical applications throughout the up and coming videos according to the questions and desires of the audience. So you, audience, will get to hear about these videos and you'll hear me talk about how it works, how we can apply it to your life, various things that could be done in general. And then we'll start breaking down systematic differential diagnosis, which means I will talk about 1 week, I might talk about arthritis, and the next week I might talk about allergies, and another week I might talk about autism, you know, different things like that. And then see, or a fracture, or a bad back, and all of these different things. And then we will talk about those in various videos. But then as people go along, they're going to, if you want viewers, especially Nino's viewers, because we're hoping we'll put this on Nino's Insiders. It's going to depend on him. He wanted me to do that. We'll see. And you will have access to writing me with your specific questions, and I will address your questions in the up and coming videos. So I hope that this must sound like fun. We'll try it, see how it goes. Okay. We will touch on the specifics in these shows, identifying spiritual attacks, how to identify them as more spiritual than physical, PTSDs, addictions, chronic systemic issues, autoimmune illnesses, traumatic physical attacks, and what is the spiritual side of these, chronic organ issues, allergies, children and elderly afflictions, even amputations, weight loss, hormonal balancing, on and on until we've addressed enough and people start asking their own questions. What does this have to do with Promise Keepers? Well, I got into this field 35 years ago. And I have to admit that it was a pretty, being from a poor kind of background, I wanted to get into something that I knew was going to be substantial and safe when it came to financial return. But my father contracted MS. I was already accepted into med school and I was ready to go and start general medicine. And he contracted MS, and then I decided to take a little detour and study physical therapy. And I liked it. I liked the application. I liked being able to treat people in the physical issues. It was primarily physical, strains and sprains and strains and different things like that, and injured backs. But then, as time went on, you got more and more systemic things popped in, and now people come in the office with all kinds of things. You make a promise to people. You make a promise like every other medical professional. I made a promise. When we graduated, we took our license, we had to take a Hippocratic Oath, which basically means, break it down, it's basically you are making a promise to do no harm, to always do the best you can for each individual that will benefit them physically, do no harm. You promise to do no harm. That's the basic oath. So that's one promise. Promise to myself to always do as much as I can in the truths, and not want to hurt people, not cheat people, etc. And promises to the patients themselves, especially as they came in and they became more and more friends. And I really wanted to help them. Okay. Those promises, I make you a promise. I'm going to make you a promise that I'm going to do these videos moving forward. And maybe make you a promise that everything I tell you is absolutely true as far as I know, and based on facts of what I observed. I'm not making up stories. I'm not telling lies. I'm not fabricating situations to fit a scenario. As a matter of fact, if I don't understand something, and oftentimes I don't, I want evidence, then I go to the source and I ask, show me, and he shows me over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until I really get it. And it's like, okay, I guess I'm getting it now. You can stop showing me, because that's how it usually works. As a matter of fact, it's promised in the Word of God. If you ask God, he will, people can tell it's a prophetic word because it's always validated. That's what I was told by one of my friends who's a more biblical scholar, much more biblical than myself. You will know if what you have heard from somebody, people always come up to you and say, hey, I had a word from God for you, and they'll give you this word. And if it's true, it will be validated over and over again. So you don't have to take my word for it. If you want to believe what I'm saying in this thing, you can ask God, please validate, and he will. And you'll see again and again and again signs that validate it's a promise. Might as well take advantage of it. It's like getting a refund from your taxes. You just have to ask, get it? Cool. Anyway, I make you that promise that I will tell the truth. I make you a promise that as far as I can do, as much as I can, I will try to help you. If you call out, reach out and ask me. And if I make a promise to do something for you, I will do it, because I try to keep all my promises regardless of what I do, because I really believe I am a promise keeper. At least I try to be. I try with my wife too. Better. She's, yeah. You never meet my wife, you'll know why I keep my promises. Nice, Anyway, it is important to understand that with any commitment, promises are made. So we're talking about promise keeping. That goes pretty much all through our life. Insurances, they promise to pay for people's health. If the people first give them money, give a particular company, let's call Cigna or whatever, we give them money, and they promise that when you need them, they will be there for you. It's a promise made. Interesting that as time went on, I was seeing that the very companies that were making these promises were not following through with their end of the bargain. People gave them their money, but when it was time to deliver the care, suddenly people were getting increasingly more and more denied care. Increasingly more people it was being told, no, we don't want you to treat the cause. We only want you to treat the symptom. Well, wait a minute, but if I treat the cause, they can get better. Just do what we tell you. You know, promises. They're not doing what they promised. They're not looking to the best interest of their client, wanting the client to get better. They only want to make money or hold on to the control. Promises. Insurances, like I said, doctors, like I said already, promise to do no harm. Interesting, as time went on, I was finding more and more doctors that would prescribe a particular type of treatment, AKA the big C word, canker. And they would never take that themselves, nor have any of their family members take the same treatment. Found that kind of bizarre, that they would treat someone in a way that they would never take themselves. Interesting. Big Pharma promises to deliver for a payment. They're going to deliver you a remedy that is supposed to treat the situation that you have and not harm you. But now it seems more and more we're finding out that these pills are manipulated or even constructed to actually do other things. So one pill causes this thing. So yeah, it might make you feel better in one condition, but it causes another condition. So then you have to take another pill for that condition. And then that causes another condition. And before you know it, by the time you're 50, 60 years old, you're taking 15 of these things. And you have to take for the rest of your life. Promises. Where's the promise? That they would do the best they can, that they would give you the best they could, not the best for them. People pay for education, teachers, to teach them truths. And then you find out later on that, well, wait a minute, no, that wasn't exactly true what you're teaching. Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's what they tell me we have to teach, AKA evolution, other these things like this. You know, I actually had it in my own experience here. I'm working in a laboratory in my pre-med scenario, and I happened to work with a little bit of carbon dating. And this one doctor, he said, well, we only do it to just collect statistics because it really doesn't work. I'm like, well, what do you mean it really doesn't work? He goes, I can show you article after article, but basically it doesn't work. He says it's you'll take the same sample and you'll do it 3 times, and one date will be very recent and the other date will be 10,000 years ago and the other date will be 10 million years ago. And he says, so you pick the one that fits. He said, and plus there are so many things that can change the grade of the carbon dating. If a particular substance is submerged underwater under high pressure, it changes the carbon dating of it. You know, if it's polluted with carbons that are newer, it makes the article look newer than it should be. If it's polluted with carbons that are older, then it can seem older. And not to get into the carbon dating thing, but after a while you said, well, then why are we still teaching? Why are we even using it? Because we're told we have to. We have no choice. Police make promises to protect the innocent, to serve the public that pays their salaries, not to serve the rich, not to serve the corporate giants that may want a particular situation to take place in a Capitol building, so they open the doors and let certain individuals in. Well, that's not protecting the innocent. That seems like a little bit of a sham to me. But hey, who am I? I'm just a normal guy. I'm just a therapist over here. Politicians promise their voters that they will always seek the best of the constituents who vote them in, that pay their salary and make them popular. And then we find out later on that they did the exact opposite. They actually are doing the best interest of someone else, maybe even another country. Broken promises. It's breaking a promise. judges promising to be impartial, lawyers promising to represent you the best they can. And then you find out that your adversary pays them under the table, and they're representing really them. Not that they throw you under the bus, but they fix it just enough so that guy doesn't get hurt. Broken promises. Men and women join together in marriage and promise to God that they'll love each other, stay true to each other, break promises. It is difficult for us to go through life and never break promises. Heaven forbid, I've broken many of myself, many. But the idea is sometimes people have this idea, no harm, no foul, especially in business. Dealing with business, it's like, hey, I'm just doing what makes the company the most money. Doesn't matter if I break a promise. I don't care. I signed a 2-year contract with a company, big company, to open up a whole bunch of offices for them. The owner comes to me and says, I'm going to put you in this position. I promise you'll be very well taken care of. But this is what I want you to do. I want you to introduce God back into my people. Put it into the scenario. Put that, even help me open some of these offices that have been closed. I used to have 24 offices just in the state of Arizona. I want I give you carte blanche, open it up, do what you need to do. So when I do exactly what he wants in half the time that he expects, and I actually even find where he could save hundreds of thousands of dollars, somebody else comes along, a higher up, that doesn't like this, that doesn't want that situation, and reminds or does something to remind the guy that if he goes with God, he might lose out on this other contract opportunity here. Or in other words, or just, hey, this guy up here, this says no, get rid of him. Broken promises, broken contracts. To who? To me? I wasn't the one who wanted to put God into his situation. He wanted that. I have a mentor in Colorado I've spoken of a few times in many of my blogs and a few of my videos, but not often in my videos. His name is Peter Lau. And when I went through my near-death experience about 12, 13 years ago, I was coming back from Colorado, visiting my very good friend up in La Vida, Colorado, and I was coming back, and my mom she was riding with me, and she goes, I want to go and stop this guy in Pagosa Springs. I'm like, okay, who is he? Well, I don't know his name. I just know that he's got this room. I want to see this room, this upper room, where my friend, she saw it, and she says, yeah, it's like behind a closet. It's a special room that the guy built for people to stay in. And he has this chair where this old man believes that that's where Jesus sits. So you could sit in that chair, you could feel Jesus' presence. I'm like, okay, you want to stop? You want to see this guy? You have his phone number? No. Do you know where he lives? I got his address. Yeah, but I don't. No, I just want to see the room. I'm like, I'm not stopping. We're not stopping. No. But she insists, and my mother can be persistent. And she just hounds me. I go, stop. I want to stop. All right. You can stop, but I'm telling you this. I'm staying in the car. And if you want to go in, you go in, but 5 minutes, and then we're leaving. I'm waiting here. Don't come back and get me. I'm waiting here. She goes in. A couple minutes later, boop, boop. I knock on my window and look. This old Jewish guy, big smile, bathrobe. Hey, come here. And I get out of the car and I go inside. He talks me into coming inside, and it changed my life. Because this guy talked about keeping promises. Not promises to a people, to God, about people. And he told me, he said, put out his hand, take my hand. If you promise to believe me, that I'm not going to lie to you, I promise to never lie to you. I'll tell you what I know. He told me some things. I talked to him about promises recently. He said a very interesting thing. This is one of the most godly men I know. He said that breaking promises can nullify your call with God. What does that mean? Just add that. It can nullify your call. You have a call. You make a promise to somebody that you're going to, whatever, maybe promote their book. I promise I'll do this for you. Well, really? Yeah, I'll do that for you. Yeah, I'll do that. Send me 100 copies and I'll promote it. Okay. I'm not, that didn't happen. I'm just making an example. And then suddenly they might say, they might wanna, that might be part of their calling, to bring the word, God's message, God's blessing to people. And then they break their promise. And breaking a promise nullifies your calling. Well, wait a minute then. Well, what about Peter? Because he broke his promise. He promised Jesus that he would never deny him. And Jesus said, oh yeah? Well, you're going to deny me 3 times. And he did. Broken promise. But the good news is he recognized what he did and repented right away, or even shortly after. So sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Of course, God forgives. Make up for it. Swore to himself, I'll never deny him again. And he never did, at least not that we know of. Promises are very powerful. Promises are meant to be kept because promises are positive things. Broken promises are negative things. God makes promises. Hey, like I said, men and women, when they join together, they make promises. I've known many people that begged and begged and begged for children. Beg God for children. I promise I'll take care of them. I'll love them. I'll treat them so good. Like my kids promising to, hey, you get a dog, please. I'll walk the dog. I promise I'll feed them all the time. And then they break their promise. Not their kids, But hey, how many parents have made that promise to God and then discard the child? Broken promises. Miss out on a wonderful calling that could have been keeping that promise. Businesses, people make promises all the time, like I said, but they think, well, if I'm just saving money, no big deal if I break my promise. Finances with banks, making promises, and then going back, like all the repos that are taking place across the country of people who had leases and suddenly now they're cars because the cars are more valuable to be sold than the lease. So they're taking these leases back. They're breaking their promises. Banks don't care. Hey, it's just money. No, those are people's lives too. The enemy, if all truths come from God, then do non-truths come from the enemy? Well, non-truths is the absence of truth. If we're talking about an absence of truth, a fabrication, a lie, then I think that for the most part, especially destructive lies, not to lie like, yeah, honey, those shorts really do look good on you, because you want your wife to feel that. My wife looks good in shorts, but I can imagine people say that, oh, your bald head really looks good. Yeah, right. Nice to say it, but I liked it better when I had hair. I don't care how many people say you're bald. Thank you. But hair looks better. Nice lie. That's not destructive, I don't think. That. Anyway, what does this have to do with healthcare? That's where we're going here. Healthcare. You go to the people for advice because they promised A, to do no harm, and B, to give you the best advice for what you are giving them. Pay. You pay to the insurance company so that they will pay them when you need it. So AKA you're paying them. Okay. Insurance company actually, well, no, we're paying them. No. Excuse the French, dickheads. I'm paying them. I paid you so that you could pay them. Sorry. So I'm basically paying them. So you promise, you expect to get the best they have. All the truth, not half the truth, not a part of the truth. Early in my career, I started to see that shift from giving the patient everything that they needed, not only to get a little better in their symptoms, but to facilitate what they needed so that they could do it on their own, so that they didn't have to keep coming back. You know, well, I need you to do a special movement that only I can do. Why? I can't tell you that. You just do it. It'll help you with your arthritis. And they do it. And that means they have to come back and they have to come back and they have to come back and they have to. That's not helping a patient. That's corralling them like a sheep. Okay. But it seemed like more and more time went on, the businesses that did that thrived. The businesses that worked against that and said, no, I'm going to do what they can to help people get better as fast as possible. You'd think that the insurance companies would like that, but they actually punished you for doing that. And they rewarded the companies that enslaved people. When I was working on my own clinic, I used to have to bust later, especially later on, bust your butt to get people to get approvals for just 5 more visits. Then long after my office is done and I'm working for other people and I start substituting in some of these practices that I had known for years had been a little dark, that they had used people. I go walk in one day and I'm treating this one patient and I said, you know, I'm working on him and I said, you know, you could do this and this to help your back so you wouldn't have to keep coming back. You could relax the stuff yourself. I've never had anybody tell me that. They just treated me. I never had anybody tell me what I could do to do this myself. Well, how long you been coming here? A year and a half? You've been coming to therapy a year and a half? Yeah. And they never told you how to do it yourself? No. How do they get that approved? How do they get approved from the insurance to keep coming a year and a half? They get it approved. Is it because they're so good? No. It's because they're so bad. I could tell you some stories to tell you. Hey, I got a story for you. We talk about this. I write about in my book, oftentimes I make mentions of the best doctor that I've ever known. Doctor, and I'm going to call him Dr. M. Okay, but he's in the book. I have his name actually in there. Dr. M was a family doctor back when they still owned their own practice. Now the family doctors are owned by the insurance company. You go to family doctors, they belong to, you know, this or that company, Pacific Care or Health One or who knows what, you know, all these different names, Banner Health, and, you know, they all work for them. So they just work for the insurance company. So they tell them what to do, you know, so doctor doesn't have as much freedom as he used to, but this guy, he still worked on his own. He would do house calls because that's the way his dad did it. Every day at lunch, he'd go across the street, get his little burger, bring it back to his thing, and he'd call all the people that were the day before that he saw, so to see how they were doing the next day. He'd give them a call on his lunch hour. Didn't charge them for that. He just called to see how they were. Good doctor. What does that have to do with this? So 25 years ago, now it's got to be almost like 30 years ago now, when I was in the office with him, sharing office. Yeah, 30, probably more than that, 35 years ago. We sit and talk a lot of times. And then one day, a whole tray of these, flu things came in the mail or delivered. And he's like, oh, I hate these things. I go, why? He goes, I don't know. He says, I just don't like them. He goes, but they come every year. I got to buy them. I have to pay $7 a piece or $10 a piece, whatever he has to pay for them. And he's got to buy his allotment of them, 300, whatever, and they make him pay. And then he gives them to the patients, and they have to, they have to take it. Well, they don't have to, they just choose to take it, and then he charges them for it, and he gets his money back. He never gets, it usually just costs him money. This guy, it's like he doesn't make money on those because, the insurance company pays a few cents more than what it costs him. So he doesn't make really anything, but it's part of his deal. Okay. And so he's like, yeah, so he's opening it up. He's starting to unpack it. And I'm sitting right there and go, well, what are these? And he looks, and they were all had pink labels, hundreds pink labels. And then there was this little group with purple labels. Like, I don't know. Pulls it out. He holds up the pink one and he holds up the purple label. It looks the same. It's a little different. He goes, I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to find out. So he goes over, he goes in the room next door where his office was, picks up the phone. He calls the rep or whatever that, hey, what is this with the purple label? Really? What? I didn't order those. Oh, okay. All right. He hangs up the phone. He goes, this is a new one. I never noticed. He says, they're VIPs. He says, that's for myself and my family. So I didn't even know that there was a distinction between them. I never noticed it before. As he's talking, we get another call. His assistant or his secretary, manager, whatever, says, hey, that guy's on the phone. He picks it up. Oh, what? Oh, okay, I guess. All right, whatever. Hangs up. He says, oh, they sent those to me by mistake. They'll have somebody here in 30 minutes to pick them up. And sure enough, probably in 10 minutes, these guys come in through the office and take the purple vials away. Like that. They weren't meant for him. After that, whenever the year later, in that time, he says, I'm not giving these things out. And he took them and he would throw them in the trash. Good doctor. He just went off for it. But he still bought them. He had to, because he worked for that. So he had to buy it. Interesting. Same doctor. Same doctor. Works on the weekends, volunteers different places. And one time he's volunteering. I think I've told the story on one of the other shows, but I'll tell it again. He's volunteering at a men's prison. He said, we're volunteering at a men's prison this weekend. I do a little work in the infirmary because they don't have anybody over the weekend. So I go in there and I do a little bit. Would you like to come? I go, yeah, I'd like to. Nah. Never been, thank God. I've never been on the inside of a men's prison. I'll check it out. And so far I haven't, but you never know. Day is young yet. So I go and I meet him there early in the morning, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning on a weekend, Saturday. And we go and we were met by Captain Guy, wasn't the warden, but some guy that's in charge. And he takes us in and the doctor excuses himself. He can go right to the infirmary, and he shows me a couple other places. And this is our main observation room, and this is our other one where we have the computers that can see all the little corridors, and it's interesting, and these guys are standing around, they're looking at you. You can see them from the other side of the window. Sometimes they're looking, and they all have their little orange shirts on or outfits. They just kind of, what's this guy doing here? And then we go into his office and we sit down, and he's telling me about the normal routine. This is a moderate to heavy facility, so there's some heavy criminals that come there. Okay. And he's telling me about it. And then suddenly Doc comes popping his head back in because, hey, I have this guy in an infirmary, and he hurt his knee. I think you could help him if you wouldn't mind treating. Maybe you'd help him out with his knee, give him some instruction to help him feel better. I look at the captain. He says, if you want, go ahead. I'm like, all right. So I pop up and I follow Doc, and he's taking me down the hall. He's telling me it's okay. This guy apparently was in a fight, and I think he might have had somebody fall on his knee or something. It's all swollen. Maybe you can help him out. He's got a few other scrapes and stuff, but there's nothing else wrong with him, just the knee. Yeah, sure, Doc. I'll do that for you. I'll check him out. So we come in, and the infirmary is this long, old-fashioned room, and I don't know if you remember, like the old days of the doctors, they had those curtains that separated everybody. So there's curtain walls, but they're open in the front. And immediately Doc, he excuses himself to the first guy. And he says, your guy is down at the end. So I'm walking by, and I see you one after another. You go past the curtains, and there's another guy. And they're looking at you as you pass by. They're some of them have a bandage on their head, and some of them got they're just drinking a little thing out of a straw. They're just sitting there. Everybody's kind of looking at you as you go by. Then there's a prison guard standing there. He's right there, making sure everybody stays standing against the wall, half watching the TV, half watching us. And I go all the way down to the end, find the last curtain. I look around the corner, and there's my guy sitting there. I can't remember his name. We'll call him Carl. And the doc put a knee brace on him, but he had it way down too low, and it was down by his ankle, so it didn't really do anything for his knee. The little hole thing where the knee cap's supposed to be was way down below. No offense to Dr. M, but he didn't put it on right. But the guy's just sitting there, sitting on the edge of the table in plinth, sitting there with his knee thing on. And I go, hey, I don't know if the doc told you, I'm a therapist, and I'm going to help you. He told me, yeah, he said you were going to come by. I go, okay, cool. And I reached out, and I start to unstrap the knee brace. And he looks at me, he goes, what are you doing? Kind of caught me by surprise. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, to thoroughly help, I'm going to need to examine your knee a little bit, and check it out. And I said, and then maybe I'll put this knee brace on it. But it's not really on right, but if you need the knee brace, I'll put it back on, but maybe we can do something else to help you out. Help me out. Can you help get me out of here? And he said it just like I just said it. And it caught me by surprise, because I know he meant get him out of prison. And I backed up a little bit, and then I kind of looked, and the guard wasn't that far away, and he heard him say it too. And suddenly the guard is looking at our direction, like, what did he just say? And then the prisoner kneels forward, goes, because if you can't help me get out of here, then you can't help me. Just leave it where it is. I'm like, well, it's not doing any good. He said, what? You're going to fix a brace so it works better? What? So I can walk out into the field, out into the yard with the brace on? He said, I go out in that yard with that brace on. He said, I'm a dead man. He said, you show weakness with those guys? Any weakness? No. He says, I like it just the way it is. I like sitting here right where I'm at. I get a couple days. I can sit in here nice and relaxed, watch some TV, and I'm away from them. He said, I'll stay right where I'm at. Leave your hands off the brace. Okay, what else can I do? That was 35 years ago. And then about 10 years ago, I started to realize the truth in what this man was trying to teach me. If you can't help me get out of this prison, then you're not helping me at all. I don't want your help. When we only treat symptoms, you're not helping anybody. You're only helping them stay in prison, the prison of lies. This start of the Health Heal Yourself for God's Sake series, I am going to start officially right now. To understand how to heal yourself using mind, body, and spiritual truths as described in this book, and also described in the Quantum Ascension book, available on Amazon. To understand it, you have to understand the basic building blocks. Our society has lied to us systematically, probably now for over 100 years, but it has been increasingly lying to us more and more as time has gone on with the educational processes, especially since the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They have led us to believe that everything is physical. Physical is everything. Our mind has the power to do these different things. And if you focus enough with your mind, you can do anything. And to a degree, the mind does have a lot of abilities, a lot more than the body. But they make us believe that our life is kind of like what we see on the dollar bill, that little pyramid thing. We are the ones on the bottom group touching the ground dwellers. Okay. There's a bunch of bosses. The higher you go, the smaller the group becomes of bosses until you get to the top. And then there's that all-seeing eye that is supposed to be the, their spiritual side. Ours is this little teeny thing that sits maybe in our chest that you might get in touch with, you might not. It's on your shoulder and kind of talks to you about doing good or doing bad. It's small. And that's the lie. To understand how to apply mind, body, and spiritual applications, it's imperative that you understand the truth about the structure of the universe and how it really fits. Now, I've talked about it in the other videos. I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but basically we are extremely small physically. The physical energies are so small and so insignificant compared to the spaces in between even the structures of the atoms that they're literally, it's almost like infinite amount of space in between. Okay, I'm not going to get into that today in today's video, but I may as we go on, because I'm still going to reiterate this stuff over and over. Small physical. The mind is nothing but a library. A library. People have to get away from the thoughts of emotions and stuff. Yes, the mind has an effect on the emotions. Yes, the mind has an effect on our beliefs, but the mind is nothing but a recorder of events that happen to our eyes, happen to our ears, happen in and out of our mouth, with every smell, with every cell on our body that takes in sensations from the outside, whether it's heat, cold, light, dark, electricity, it doesn't matter. Anything that hits our body, a baseball bat in the back of the head, it records that and then puts it into categories. Starting off when we're first born, did the body react well, or did the body react negatively? Not what they felt about it, react. Taking a cookie. Cookie makes the child sick. Years later, Just the looking at a cookie will make the child sick. That's what happens. Okay, because it was a negative reaction. It gets put into the negative department. That experience, that stimulus, that recognizing the cookie, smelling the cookie, tasting the cookie, that taste for me is red turkey Kentucky whiskey. On my way home from college to Chicago, when I was visiting my aunt and uncle on Christmas break, we were really cold, waiting at the truck stop for our ride. One of the boys pulled out red turkey Kentucky whiskey, and we started taking a shot, drink. Got about halfway through that bottle, and I don't remember what happened, but all I know is if I smell that stuff today, forget it. It makes me wanna. So that's how it works. Negative reactions to a particular smell event. That's what our brain does. And it records everything. But our emotions, what we feel, what we believe is spiritual. So I don't lie to you. These truths have been told to me, shown to me. You're just gonna have to take my word for it at this point, okay? If this stuff is hocus pocus to you, you don't even want to go any further, turn off the video. It's okay. You come back later if you will like it or not. But if you want to go on, I'm going to go on for time's sake. Small physical, very large mental, experiential, very important, you know, experiential reaction, physical reactions, emotional belief is infinite. Now, body is linked to physicality. That means there's height, width, depth. 3 dimensions, height, width, and depth. Okay, there's a place in a particular time, in a particular location, particular place, and a particular volume, amount, intensity. That's there. Experiential is not linked to a particular place because it could be in the past experiences, it can be present experiences, it can even be dreamt of experiences in the future. Imagine like, well, if I toss this phone and it hits the wall, it probably will break. Imagined. Okay, based on my experiences. Okay, other things. The spirit is not linked to place, height, width, or depth. It's not linked to time, past, present, or future. It is infinite like God. So your spirit is, you could say it's in the air, but you could also say it is all around us, through us, surrounds us, like, you know, the force. Very interesting analogy. It's true. Force, the Spirit of God, does surround us, does hold the universe together, does keep the ping pong ball size electron rotating around a basketball size proton 600 miles away. Gravity couldn't do that. Gravity doesn't even explain a lot of things. We're not going to go down there in this video, but we will in other videos. So now, what does that have to do with healthcare? If everything that happens to us is basically built out of the same energy, baseball bat to the back of the head, or an apple that you eat that happens to be poisoned, poison apple, Snow White, or somebody's comment that they make about your fat gut when you were a little kid that now has you worried about that the rest of your life. It's energy. Energy comes in, energy in the sound. Sound, man's voice says you have a fat gut. Apple, energy, same sound that makes up the protons and electrons, same energy. You took it in. It had an effect on your body. Same baseball bat, energy, hits the back of your head, okay? Now, they're all the same. All the afflictions, sicknesses, all these negative things are the same. When you see them from a physical, experiential, and spiritual, with spiritual eyes. So now, therapeutic-wise, if we apply the same principles to treatment, to overcoming, could it allow us to then overcome it? Well, let's see. If everything that happens to us is small physical, medium or large experiential, and infinite spiritual, meaning is it from God or is it from the other side, malevolent? Okay. We've gone so far to believe that it's true. So let's move a little further. If that's the case, then can we apply the same principles and do what has been demonstrated in the Bible and drive the darkness away? Oh, okay. What are you talking about? Well, it says it right there in the Bible, first book. This isn't the Bible, but let's say I was holding up the Bible. First book, first chapter. God created the heavens and the earth. And he created light. And darkness looked at light, and he understood it not. And he fled. Interesting. Turn on the light, darkness flees. Biblical truth. Universal truth. God-given promise. God promises. Turn on the light. Always. Darkness flees. Promise. Promise keeper. God's the greatest promise keeper. All his promises he keeps. We just have to decide whether or not we will believe them ourselves. He turns on the light, darkness flees. Okay. We turn on the light, will darkness flee? He doesn't say who turns on light. He just says, if the light gets turned on, darkness flees. Promise from God. He didn't say, when God turns on the light, darkness flees. No, he said, when the light was turned on, darkness flees. Okay. Promises. God keeps his promise. Well, what if we turn on the light? That's what we do. We turn on the light to the truth. All truths come from God. Promise. And truth is a positive physical thing. It's sound, physical, same structure that created the universe. So truths are physical. You will be held accountable for your every word. The man himself said that. Well, why did he say that? Why did he say for your every word that came out of your mouth? Why not for everything you eat, for everything you steal, for every punch you do, for every lightning bolt? No, he says for everything that comes out of your mouth, you will be accountable. Because that's physical energy. It wasn't there before. And you say something like, this cell phone is deadly if you use it like as a weapon. Or I hate you. Or I love you. You say those things, they have an effect on people. And once it's out there, it never goes away, scientifically proven. So if we apply that same thing to the therapeutic scenario, and we examine the causes of problems, all the causes, physical, spiritual, and physical, experiential, and spiritual, and then turn our attention and ask God to turn the truth onto the situation so we see the truth of what really is going on, then darkness flees. So now malevolence, the malevolent spirit behind whatever we're talking about, is gone. So now we're only left with the experiential. Well, the experience you already had, one experience because it came. Okay, so there's an experience, there's one experience. You also have an experience. And the amount of physical energy is so small compared to this body and all the trillions of atoms. That little spiritual energy in comparison is quite small because the malevolent spirit is gone. That leaves your great malevolence, your great prevalent spirit of positive energy to work against, okay, to work the miracles. And it makes it possible for people to put these things that have been plaguing them for decades away from them. It makes it possible for people to pick up their mat and walk. It makes it possible for people to walk to the Jordan and wash off because the leprosy is already gonna go away. It's gone. It makes it possible for the centurion to go back and say, he's already healed. I don't even have to, you don't have to come with me. If you just say it, I know it'll be true. And it was. Because the spirit was gone. The minute the belief, the minute the attention was put on the cause, the spirit's gone. So he already knew that the healing was going to take place. That's how it works. So we have to put our attention on. Okay, so today's lesson, we're going to talk about pain. Okay, this video is already now an hour, so I'm not going to go much further because I got to get this down so they can get it out. Pain is a signal. Pain, I've had so many people call me up, oh, pray for me to take my pain away, please. Ask God to take my pain away. Listen, pain is an alarm system. Everything that's in your body, every system you have that react, all these symptoms are systems that are designed to protect your body against attacks. Pain, no different. When somebody hits you, your body reacts. If you see and all your senses pick up that a wolf is running down the street and you recognize from past experiences, things you've learned, that that body shape means this, and it could mean you could start feeling, and your body will start to react. If it starts to sense signals coming, poisons, or different malevolent spirits that are attacking you, it reacts. Pain in the back, pain in the shoulder, whatever. Okay, those are reactions. If you do nothing and you just take it, like, I hate that it keeps hurting, and you go to the doctor and he gives you a pain pill to numb the pain, but does nothing for the cause, then the cause is still keeps attacking sometimes. And you don't do anything about it. You don't know that that cause is attacking. So it's over time, it's causing damage to tissue because your body's fighting it because of the swelling. To keep a barrier between you and the attacker, it inadvertently causes the tissue to starve because it's not getting enough food, but it's building up waste products, aka degenerative disc disease. And those things start to manifest because we're not dealing with the causes. There's 3 ways you're going to deal with a fire alarm. Everybody's got them in their house. Beep, beep, beep. Start talking to beep, beep, beep. And he wakes you up. Oh, why is that thing going off? Beep. You go check it out. Okay. Push the button, reset it. Stops. A couple hours later, beep, beep. It might be the battery's bad. I change the battery. Okay. Beep, beep. Well, what if it's picking up a very faint little smoke that's coming out of a plug that you don't smell, but it went to the, and it picked up that gas, and it lets you know carbon monoxide. Beep. You can do three things. You can do like the doctors do, and you can give it a pain pill. Take a wet rag and staple it to the roof, put it right over the thing. So now, not only does it not take in any more signals in, you can't hear it. So and go back to bed. So even when it starts, you can't hear it because the wet rag is in front, muffles the sound. Okay. If that smoke turns into a fire and you're sleeping, you're done. Sad. Or your children or your dog or something. House. You could do the other thing. You could reach up there, take the alarm down and disarm it, take the wires out, put it back up. Now it'll never go off. And you can go back to sleep. That's even stupider. Okay. Oh, by the way, I've worked for pain specialists that when people come in with chronic pain in their arm or leg, after a number of times, they've tried pain pills, they've tried all these different things. If it doesn't work year after year after year, time after time, you know what they do now? They'll go in there, they'll just cut the nerve so you don't feel it anymore. And then you have the problem of the guy doesn't feel pain anymore in his hand, so he accidentally puts his hand too close to the burner. He doesn't even feel that it's on fire. And now he's burned himself or whatever. That's stupid too. Turn the alarm off. No. You go and look around and try to figure out why is it going off. When you look to the cause, and then you, oh, there it is, some smoke over there. Fix the cause. The alarm, now when you reset it, it won't start up again because there's no more smoke. Grandma's mushrooms off the burner that she left burning downstairs. Take it off the burner. Get rid of the cause. It is no different in the body. You look at these reactions, you analyze them, not only from a physical, from where it's happening, not even from an experiential, from when it happened, but from a spiritual. What is why, and not only why, what is this particular part of our body at this time, at this moment in space, trying to tell us spiritually? What can it tell us about the malevolence? And if you don't know, go to the source, which I do so often. God, tell me why. And then he does. You have not because you ask not. That's my favorite. I have not because I ask not. So I'm asking. I wrote this entire book based on that one scripture. God, you said, I have not because I ask not. So how? How does it work? Why? Okay, why does a prison, what does that mean with the prison guy? What does that mean? Why? What does it mean, the whirlwind in our lives? What does that mean? What is social ascension? What does that mean, God? How does the ascension process work? What does vibration have to do with our DNA? Tell me. And he does. You have not because you asked not. So I ask. I ask all the time, every day. So can you. I hope this video helps some people. This is just the first. I'm going to try to do one every day for the next 20 days. That's my promise to you. Until I have a little series of 20 videos about this Heal Yourself for God's Sake book. And they're all going to be primarily about taking principles. In this first case was pain. I will be talking about pain more because pain is the quintessential signal. It reflects itself in everything. Addiction to amputation. It's always there. Pain shows up everywhere. Anything negative that happens to a person, it doesn't matter if it's depression, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a bad, a bounced check. It comes with pain, okay? Pain is associated with it. So pain's an easy one. It's a good start. And it tells us so much. And you know how you get pain to turn off? By honoring it and listening to what it's trying to tell you. It's the fastest way to get it to stop. And I'm going to explain that to you in the next video. I hope that you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe to our Spiritual Therapies with Peter and Anna Colla. And you can also help us. We also have a Venmo, and we also have a GoFundMe. We're trying to open our office back up. Of course, we can't build the insurance company, so we have to treat people a lot of times for free. You can order a book from Amazon, Heal Yourself for God's Sake. That helps us a lot. Or the Quantum Ascension. You can write me at posture.is.everything@gmail.com. And then I can give you instruction how you can buy the book directly from me. You pay the same cost of the book. And then the small shipping charge. I only charge what it costs to ship, $3 or $2 in the United States. And then I'll send you a signed copy, and then write for me, and I sign it directly to you. So you get a signed copy from the author. I am the author. And if you want me to do, if you have a show, like let's say you have a channel and you'd like me to do an interview on the show, I'll do that. I'd love to do that. You just call me and we'll set up a Zoom. I also do book signings. I do workshops. And so if you know a workshop that's coming, or you happen to have a situation, you want to do it in your church or something like that, and you'd like to have another guest speaker, I'm up for that. So give me a call. And I've done that many, many times before. And I've seemed to be getting a lot more calls for that now lately. I'd love to do that now that the whole scamdemic has proved to not be so much lockdown necessary. Oh, by the way, I don't do this. If you call me to do a guest speaking and I have to do this, or I have to do that, forget it. Don't do it. Anyway, I hope that you will learn something from this. And I hope that, like I said, you like and subscribe. And I hope to hear from you soon. Like I said, you can email me with your questions, and I try to answer all my emails. I really do. If you want specific direct consultation, then you have to also email me, and then we've set up a direct consultation. Unfortunately, I do charge for that, because direct consultations, I do those during my regular work week. I have to schedule it. I have to take off my visitations from other patients. And so, yes, I do charge people for direct consultations for their specific issues. And then I apply spiritual therapies with a medical condition, just like anybody who has called me up and say, hey, I've got this issue, this chronic back issue, or I've got a tumor in my neck and it's caused this and this symptom. What do I do? And so there you go. I give you advice, therapeutic advice, not only physical therapy, but I give you mind, body, and spiritual therapeutic advice. Thank you. And you have, like I said, you have my email, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bless you. And a shout out to my good friends, Nino Rodriguez, Pryme Minister, Nicholas Veniamin, Charlie Ward, and many of the other people that I'm hoping soon to contact. I'm hoping soon to be on Simon Parks, and I would love to get a hold of Mel K and talk to her Jekyll. Anyway, so if you know these people and you can contact them or give me some contact them, that would be hardly approved. Bless you. Take care. And I, again, like I said, I hope to hear from many of you soon. Bye-bye.